You're listening to the So Good It Doesn't Make Sense podcast, a podcast for women navigating divorce who want more. More clarity, more money, more peace, more power. I'm Megan Norris, divorce expert, coach, and the friend who's going to tell you the truth. Not just about what's happening right now, but about what's possible for you next. This podcast is about making decisions you trust, building a life you actually want, and becoming the version of you that no one saw coming. Whether you're in it, ending it, or already out, you're in the right place. You're about to become the CEO of your life and create one so good it doesn't make sense. Let's get started. Oh, hi. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Did you have a good weekend? Check in. How are we doing? Remember that negative emotion means you're thriving. Sadness, adversity, anxiety is all part of the plan. So if you had a hard weekend, it means you're doing it right. Congratulations. If you had a great weekend, amazing. Enjoy it. I want to talk today about control and how it's a double-edged sword that gets us into trouble. Most of the clients that I work with, dare I say every single one of them, and myself included, we are type A overachievers, very empathetic, high-functioning women. And we got that way by being extraordinarily capable. And with that capability comes the illusion of control. So we have a lot of control. We like to control things. I'm not necessarily suggesting that we are controlling, although we could say that, but it's coming from a good place. I am just saying that we exercise a lot of control over our environments, our actions, our routines, our goals in order to maintain our level of functioning and achievement. And that is part of your superpower. But what happens during and even after divorce, and I think it's even trickier after divorce, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but for sure during your divorce, there are so many things, so many variables that you just simply can't control, but that is how you're used to moving through the world. If you see a problem, you fix it. If there's an obstacle, you work through it. And sometimes you just hit a brick wall when you are facing adversity. And perhaps the definition of adversity is, I can't control this, and it's happening anyway. And it's happening in a way that I don't necessarily love. And it's a co-creation. And then during divorce, it's a group project. And then after divorce, you're co-creating with the universe and trying to figure out how to be divorced and not be in the identity of someone getting divorced. And there are so many limitations and constraints on our ability to change our circumstances during and after divorce that we lose the illusion of control that we once thought we had, or that we once had in many ways. Now, why is this especially devastating for you? And why it can be so tricky and such a rabbit hole to surrender to the things that you can't control. I think this is probably one of the most important points I'm going to make, is not just that we surrender our control of things that are not our business, but that we learn, that we understand why it's so agonizing and there's so much anguish involved in that process. And once you understand that, I'm really going to blow your mind here in a second. Okay. So you're moving through the world and you may be at max capacity, right? And you're like, I don't know if I could do one more thing. And then you add one more thing. And then you're like, oh, I can also do this and be in control. And you use it to soothe your nervous system. You use it to create certainty. Except when you then suddenly can't control all of these things, in your life, and especially if there are children involved and you can't control all the things that your children are going through or how they feel, suddenly you don't have the same coping mechanism available to you to soothe your nervous system. And that feels like a short circuit because your brain and your nervous system are used to actioning, working through, working towards, working with, being very high functioning as a way to solve for negative emotion, which are always, our negative emotions are always stemming from a thought or a belief that we don't like what's happening outside of us, in front of us. And when we can no longer do that, we have to develop emotional resilience. We have to find new coping mechanisms. And this is a huge part of the work inside the Divorce Academy. But after divorce, it continues to be really important that you work on emotional resilience mastery, we'll call it, because there are going to continue to be road bumps, speed bumps, obstacles, limitations that you can't control, especially if there are kids involved. And especially if, one other thing, what was I going to say? Well, it left me. But we'll just keep going. Maybe it'll come back to me. After your divorce is over, your brain thinks, oh, now I'm in control. And then if you're doing the work, if you continue to do the work, if you continue to hold on to the vision of a life so good it doesn't make sense, then you are, by definition, living on the cutting edge of your own growth. And guess what's out there on that cutting edge? Loss of control, risk taking, unknown outcomes. If you're just comfortable after your divorce and you're like, I'm going to chill here with the status quo and I don't want to change a thing, this will be less relevant, right? But most of us want to create wild success in our own name. We want to, have healthy relationships. We want to explore new avenues of income, and we want a high-powered life. And we struggle to figure out how to create that when there are so many things that we can't control. And if you're on the cutting edge of your own growth, then that's extra spicy. And it continues to be after divorce. Only your brain is like this, why are we still doing this? This seems optional now. Before it wasn't optional. And that's why it's so seductive to back off that edge after your divorce, which everyone gets to do. Just do it intentionally. Make the intentional choice. Don't do it because you're soothing a feeling unintentionally. Make the choice to if you need rest, okay, I'm going to rest and then I'll go again. But don't get caught in the trap of, well, this is just so uncomfortable still, and I just can't do it anymore because I've been through so many years of discomfort that I'm just going to go unconscious and not be intentional at all and just stay stuck. Brains and nervous systems are tricky. They will go to great lengths to keep us the same, to maintain the status quo, even if it's not our favorite thing. So when we lose that control, we lose that coping mechanism, what happens? Typically, what happens is there's something painful going on. You can't change it or fix it. You don't have the power to. You can see how, I don't want to say right, but usually this is tied to, it just doesn't need to be this way. I can see a more efficient way. I can see a less painful way. I can see this should be so easy and it's so hard. Like there's usually this idea that there's a better way and you just can't quite get the control you need, the buy-in you need, whether it's from your ex or from the universe or from a client, to create the result that you want. And what your brain does is it says, shame on you. This was your responsibility. Your whole life, all the things have been your job. You're responsible for keeping people happy, and then that's mixed up with taking care of your children, right? And doing what's best for them. And you have failed. You have failed. And now we have the grief of surrender, the grief of surrendering to the fact that we don't have control over everything. It's such an ego death. It's so painful. Not only do we have that pain, but it's complicated and shrouded in shame, because some part of you often believes that it was your job to control all of it. Why? Because that's how you lived your whole life. That's how you got to where you've gotten. That's how you got through school and got your degrees. It's how you created the success. It's how you ran your household before you got divorced. It's how you parent now. It's how you do your work now. It is the pursuit of excellence with a false sense of control, because you can work so hard and your capacity is so big. I always think, oh, I'm at capacity. I've reached it. This is literally the last thing I can put on my plate. And then I get one more thing and I just absorb it. It's fascinating to me how shallowly we've tapped into what we're actually capable of. But I really would rather you use that superpower, use that capacity to take really good care of yourself as your most valuable asset than to overfunction, to try to control things just because they feel uncomfortable for you. There is a difference, and it's through practicing and being in this work every day, if you can, that really starts to create the awareness of that difference. Am I soothing an emotion or am I creating a result? Sometimes it's both, but when you're on the tail end of adversity or in the middle of really dysregulating adversity, it's often we're just trying to fix a feeling. This isn't actually creating or any kind of forward momentum or desirable result. So this is just really important information for you to have, because once you're aware that some part of you is blaming you and believing that you were the one that should have been able to control all of this, when you realize that part of you is taking responsibility for other people's choices and behavior, and you can give that back, because that's not yours. That energy doesn't belong to you. And I love the visual of returning it to the sender. You can do that. You can return it to sender, right? This isn't mine. I give it back. I also love the visual of saying this energy, this emotion, this frequency that's complicating my own human pain doesn't belong to me, and I'm going to send it out into the universe and transmute it into love. I'm going to let the universe transmute this energy into love. This energy is never destroyed. It only changes form. So you can return it to sender, or you can return that energy, that guilt, that blame, that shame. You can send it back out into the universe and set the intention that it be transmuted into love. And then you're left with just your beautiful, clean pain and the ego death that comes with not coping in a way that is at your own expense anymore. Because that is one of the gifts that is inside of the difficult experience of getting divorced and then learning how to move through the world as divorced in a culture that doesn't like it, that thinks it's shameful, and that there's an undercurrent of failure and distress associated with it. The ego death that happens is painful, but it's such a gift. Because once you pull that energy back and you stop over functioning in ways that are at your own expense around things you can't really control, your resources get re-energized. They fill back up. They become more abundant and easier to access. And you don't feel so depleted. You may feel tired, and I bet you know the difference in this. If you ever had a day where you've just felt so exhausted because you left everything on the field that day, right? You had a really busy day, but you nailed it and you showed up powerfully and you took care of business, and it may not all be done or it may not all have worked out, but it's not because you didn't give it your very best effort. That kind of exhaustion is so satisfying. But when you have worked all day to try to fix things that 1, you can't fix, 2, you can't change, 3, you can't really control, and you're that kind of exhausted, it's not satisfying. It is a depletion. It's a bone-weary, depleted place to exist. And for many of you, until you found my account and my work, that's how you were navigating divorce. And that's why it's so exhausting, because you think it's your job to control all of this and to somehow be able to impact other people's choices and behavior, and you simply cannot. And when you stop trying and you start making decisions that are aligned with your values, your integrity, and your vision, not only does life get a lot easier and it's quicker to move through the pain because we don't have that layer of shame on top of it, we also get better outcomes. Your frequency is higher, like we talked about last week, and the person with the highest frequency in the room is the most powerful one. It's not to say you have to feel good. I'm going to keep saying it because I know our brains get confused. You don't have to feel good to be thriving. You don't have to feel good to be in your power. It's not nervous, it's not calm that creates empowerment. It is how you relate to your nervous system, no matter what it's doing. That's what creates empowerment. And then it's unconditional, because we don't need things to look a certain way. We don't need things to work out for us in order for us to be in our power, because we know how to relate to our nervous system. That's why I always say this work, it's relational. It's how you relate to your nervous system. It's how you relate to your circumstances. It's how you relate to your self-trust. It's how you relate to, quote unquote, taking risks, which are really just aligned decisions where you can't see how the outcome's going to work out. That's what a risk is. It feels risky because you don't have control, and it's a really powerful decision that's aligned with what you really want most. But that is the least risky place to be. Why? Because you're going to be invited to connect to your self-trust and surrender to what you can't control, which is the outcome that hasn't even happened yet. So your superpower of being so high functioning and having such a capacity to move through the world with so much on your plate, we can use that. I suggest you use it, because this journey is not for the faint of heart. My life feels like an extreme sport some days. And you know what? I freaking love it. I love it. Now, it doesn't mean I don't get tired some days, and I will pour myself into bed, and I'll, sometimes I'm up at 4 and I can't go back to sleep and it feels like the longest day ever, but it's mine. It's my life and it's my choice, and I designed it and I love it. I love it even when I don't feel amazing. And it's because I've learned how to use this superpower so that it really serves and nourishes me, because I rest with the same intensity that I work. And that's one of the hardest things I've learned how to do. But I have control over that. I have control over when I say yes and when I say no and what I do when. And so learning how to use your ability to function at a very high level for yourself instead of against yourself, learning how to let go of that shame when things don't seem to work out the way that you want them to, changes the game on every front. It makes everything easier to move through. The world, your pain, the uncertainty, because you become your own guarantee. You become the sure thing. I need to write all these down and make t-shirts. Yeah. It's like, I am my own guarantee. I'm the CEO of my life. There's so many phrases that I say all the time. I need them on a t-shirt. Somebody do that. Because I just don't think I have the capacity to add t-shirt business on top of all of this. Anyway, if you are post-divorce, I have a 4-month group coaching program that is open for enrollment until September 17th, 2025. And the plan is to run this 4-month program every semester. So there'll be a fall semester and a spring semester. There might be a truncated summer school type situation. I don't know yet. We'll wait and see. And I want to do this every year. This is so fun to my brain. And then the women who come into this small group coaching program are the bonds and the friendships and the transformations that are going to happen inside this program. I'm so excited to see. I've gotten a taste of it with the 6-month mastermind that I am just about to finish running. The friendships, the connections, the support, the transformation that has happened when like-minded, powerful women come together with the sole purpose of transformation and empowerment, the relational witnessing, the energetic exchange that happens is incredible. And so what I want to do is have these semester programs happening and then have reunion meetings. So like the class of 2026, like everybody who was in the fall or spring semesters of this school year will come together and meet. Like once a year, we'll have a Zoom meeting. We're going to break out into our respective semester small group and get updates, right? It's so juicy. I am so obsessed with this offer. Anyway, I'm going to link it in the show notes for you. I'm going to talk more. Maybe I'll do a whole podcast episode about it next week. So I'll go into the details there. But if you're interested and you love going first and you just got I got full body chills, that is a yes. I need to know more. The link is in the bio, and then I'll talk about it some more next week. Either way, I'm glad you're here. I have one mentorship spot open for the fall also. And then my Divorce Academy membership is always churning along. And that is come and go. It's $100 a month. If you're getting divorced, if you're new to this work, or if you still feel really like you're struggling with the emotional divorce, that is the perfect place for you to start. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me. I love you so much. And I will see you back here next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to the So Good It Doesn't Make Sense podcast. If today's episode resonated, please take a minute and leave a review. It helps women find this work and change their lives and divorces too. For more support, be sure you follow me on Instagram at Megan Norris Coaching. That's where I share real-time strategy, perspective, and what it actually looks like day to day. And when you're ready to go deeper, join the Divorce Academy, my monthly membership for women navigating divorce with clarity, power, and community. I'll see you next week. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for legal, financial, or mental health advice. Please consult with licensed professionals as needed.